Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell you the truth about silver. Today is Friday the 14th of January 2022 and we're producing our regular morning update, providing prices, news and economic data. Today we see gold and silver prices dip a little this morning after yesterday's quite strong rise, ahead of important retail sales figures coming out of the United States later today. So let's take a look. Welcome to Illuminati Silver. It's Friday, 14th of January 2022 at 11:36 in the morning. The news today, potentially optimistic. Why? Because scientists apparently have discovered the gene that increases the risk of dying from COVID. What's lacking in optimism, however, is what's happening to power prices. And we can see in this headline here, European power prices soar on setbacks at French nuclear giant. Let's take a look at both of these articles. First, scientists discovered gene that increases the risk of dying from COVID. Polish scientists have discovered a gene that they say may more than double the risk of falling severely ill with or even dying from COVID-19. The Health Ministry in Warsaw expects the discovery to help identify people who are most at risk from the disease, which has already killed more than 100,000 people in Poland alone. It also plans to include genetic tests when it screens patients for potential COVID-19 infections as soon as the end of June. So obviously, as the science matures on this subject, more and more opportunity to keep it at bay, the virus at bay, presents itself. However, Germany is suffering currently. They've reported record new coronavirus cases for the third straight day, as the highly transmissible Omicron variant swept through Europe's biggest economy. The UK, though, is set to abandon COVID passes this month, the Times reported, citing a government official it didn't identify. Hong Kong will, though, extend a ban on flights from the US, UK, Australia, Canada, France, India, Pakistan and the Philippines through February the 4th, at least according to the South China Morning Post. What we're finding of interest is that so far, and of course this could change, but so far, most people affected by Omicron have tended to have more mild symptoms. We shall see how long the lockdowns and the travel bans continue for. However, from an economic point of view, European power prices soar on setbacks at French nuclear giant. French and German electricity prices jumped after Électricité de France SA revised down the production forecast for its nuclear fleet that's vital to keep the lights on in Europe. The world's biggest producer of nuclear power reduced its estimate by about 8% after finding defects at some reactors. That's a little worrying. It's another blow to Europe, which is already facing an historic energy crisis, with natural gas stocks at their lowest in more than a decade for this time of year. And we can see, without going into too much detail, the German February contract rose as much as 22%. to €235 a megawatt hour, while the contract for the next quarter climbed as much as 23% to €183 on European Energy Exchange AG. French contract for April to June delivery added as much as 24% to €191. This is not going to play well for inflation. Looking at the BBC News, UK economy above pre-COVID levels in November. So despite COVID, we're seeing that faster than expected growth meant the economy was 0.7% larger than in February 2020, according to official figures. Meta, formerly Facebook, is facing a £1 billion class action case. And Google backs office work with £730 million investment. It's expanding its UK staff capacity by 50% and wants to reinvigorate the work environment. In America, Supreme Court blocks Joe Biden's vaccine mandate. This is on major employers. Biden plans dealt crushing blow by fellow Democrats. A senator warns the president's strategy would worsen the disease of division infecting our country. The militia head charged with sedition for Capitol riot. This is the head of the Oath Keepers. And an unvaccinated Canadian loses the right to see his child. Let's see what's going on financially. How are we going to end this week? Well, the dollar index is virtually unchanged at 94.78. Energy prices added another dollar, so they're now ensconced in the mid-$80 range per barrel. Equity markets in the US yesterday broadly down between 0.5% and 2.5%. Asia Pacific overnight down around 1 to 1.5%. And European, Middle Eastern, Africa and UK markets down anything from really almost unchanged in the FTSE, but the other markets down around 0.5%. Now, yesterday, we had a range of economic news announced. In the United States, the initial jobless claims figures were slightly worse than anticipated at 230,000, but the continuing jobless claims were better than the previous period at 1.6 million. So perhaps there's a temporary blip for a week, but on a month-to-month basis, we're seeing continuing jobless claims falling. The producer price index is a little bit of a surprise for December, coming in at 0.2%. Expectations were 0.4%. Now today, we have key info: retail sales, import prices, industrial production, and consumer sentiment, which is more of a view rather than necessarily hard facts, but the other pieces of data are important to note, and again will help highlight the way forward as to whether the bond buying program, tapering of it, is increased, or we're likely to have earlier interest rate rises than originally forecast. Gold prices, actually, they did well yesterday, but they've come back a little this morning, and we find them down nearly $3 at 18.21. Nothing to worry about really there. Silver prices equally really had quite a splurge yesterday, and in fact early this morning actually went as high as $23.33. Had a little bit of a peak there, but they've fallen back 16 cents at $23.09. Crypto markets really, again, as seems to be the case, following the equity markets, and we have the market cap still just holding above $2 trillion. What we find quite amazing are that even with crypto markets falling, you're getting individual cryptocurrencies rising 2,500% in a day. And anything to do with metaverse, 1,836% in a day, seems to be the magic pill for at least a short-term gain. That's it for now. We'll have our weekly update tomorrow, where we highlight where we believe prices will go next week. It looks like our predictions this week were pretty accurate, but more on the outlier range rather than the main range, simply because of that little splurge we had in gold and silver midweek towards the end. Let's see what occurs during the rest of today, though. Important data. Let's keep an eye on it. We'll report back tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, press the bell sign. Until tomorrow. Illuminati Silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.